and the fact that they, for the most part, have been a major part of the problems that they're promising the people they're going to fix. Most of the problem came from them. As an example, let's look at this as an example, Dr. Naila, just talking basic math, basic intelligence, child level intelligence, not for the adults, right? And this is nothing against any of the candidates for the corporation, but take any particular session that you hear these men from the Whiggamore Party, conscience Whigs and the Cotton Whigs, Ku Klux Klan, making any public statements, etc. And imagine taking their statements and putting them together, packaging them, and putting them in a book or on a paper, and tell me, does it have any intelligent cohesiveness about it? And these people are wanting these people to rule over their lives. Forget intelligence, forget subject matter, forget the cares of the people, forget curing anything. It's not only is it BS, it's rhetorical jargon and really joker conversations. Not, they're, put it this way, if most of the things that most of these men say, if you were hiring them for a job at, say, a fast food joint to work at the window, you'd consider strongly not hiring them, because they would be, you would say, what is this man talking about? Relative to the job, relative to reality. Less more hiring them to take care of our country, if you get the point. I'm only pointing that out from a child point of view of people taking this alleged election so seriously. People are totally incompetent, and they're considering them running their lives, and they've already ruined their lives. Look at one of them, been in politics for over about 50 years. And the
one from this state.
Yes. And promising he ain't even really promising to fix what he broke, but implying that he wants the office. And remember, he was next to the highest office of the corporation. And the fact that the people take him serious at all, but that's not a condemnation of him compared to the other one. It's just it's a condemnation of the people who are taking any of them serious in their lives. All these so-called jobs that the people think they want back here, that man helped. No, that man helped sell them out.
Right, they're not coming back.
That man helped sell them out to other corporate entities around the world, and he has investment, personal and family investment, and benefiting off these very people that's sitting around. You see people fighting each other based on these candidates. Both of them are Zionists. You got one good Zionist and one not so good Zionist, and they're all still Zionists. And they're all continuing trying to figure out how to rob these people here and send it to other so-called countries to the tune of billions, and put the debt on the people here, while these people here are trying to hold on to their homes. And they're trying to vote for these people.
Question here that you might interject, pick a little sands. I know the answer, but who started the Democratic Party?
Ku Klux Klan. Knights of Columbus, Ku Klux Klan. That's it. It's Cotton Whigs. Look up the Cotton Whigs. So write that down. Cotton Whigs. Knights of Columbus, Ku Klux Klan. Kyklos, i.e. Democratic Party. And this is, again, where even people voting for these people and don't even know who they're voting for. Tell them also, while doing that, look up Joe Biden and Senator Byrd and put it under the subtitle Ku Klux Klan and see what you find out. And understand that's not a supporter of Donald Trump. That's just telling you how these people don't even know what they're dealing with. But they have expectations, don't they, Dr. Naila?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're out there fighting each other on who's candidates, who's voting for who. And all of them are voting against themselves.
Some of them are voting for vaccines, mandatory
vaccines. Against themselves to get killed off. Unum sanctum operations. How often can we say that? And people say, oh, we said that before. Yes, we said it before, plenty of times, to keep these people focused.
But the value of the melanated man and woman today, the higher value does not appear to be in our labor, but in our melanin, in our essence, in the thing that can be extracted
mm-hmm.
and utilized to give others some kind of, seemingly immortality. Or
they are, and this is a fact, it's not an opinion. The Asiatics, Africans are viewed from the hybrid Europeans' perspective as a natural resource. I repeat, the Asiatics, Africans of the world are viewed and are approached by the hybrid Europeans, known also as Albions, as a natural resource. No different than you look at mining, gold, mining silver, mining minerals. Our people's practice of not recognizing that has caused much consternation in relationship to how they view the hybrid Europeans in their treatment of our people, and confuses them how they can be so mechanical and mechanically cold in how they treat our people, including with, say, the contracts that the gangs of New York have with the United States Corporation being commercial mercenaries, and how they mercilessly, sacrifice or murder men and women on the street who are unarmed and always have a justification, and then there's no recompense. And it confuses our people, and they keep going into moral arguments. They keep going into moral arguments. It is because they don't know what they're dealing with. They refuse to look at these hybrids are not them. They have some human DNA in them, but all of them just aren't human. And you better get used to that. Because that's a fact. So we don't give up our morality, and we don't give up our ethical principles, but understand that those principles are not part of the platform of those people who are ruling over your estates.
So Jerome Bay asked, why is there no representative for the Republic? Quote unquote, Republic.
Well, don't they understand? How often now this is back to us being redundant, right, Dr. Naila? Mm-hmm. Let's go over what we talked about before. And this is a synopsis. And we're talking about the letter that the Pope wrote to Obama. We're just going to read the beginning. Now, notice how we talked about before how so many things that we have done here on this platform are redundant.
Yes.
And the fact that the people are asking the same questions, which means it's not being absorbed. It's not that it's not being heard. It's not being absorbed. You know how so many times we've gone over these things and then we will say among ourselves, and you see some people say, oh, He said that before. Well, truth doesn't come in versions. It's what it is. Now, these are fundamental political facts that everyone that's here tonight at the House of Reawakening Minds need to be cognizant of. And we're going to be redundant again. This is why a lot of times we say, write these things down so that some of these things we don't have to keep going over again. And we can go to other things and start building cognizance. The original, now for the public, ask that question again because I want to keep this connected. Yeah, why is there no representative for the Republic?
Right, for the Republic, yeah.
Good. Now keep in mind the Constitution for the United States operations at Morocco comes from Anansi Confederation, which you will be told in history is the Iroquois Indians. Those are Anansi Moors. Are we clear? They will change names in history in order to disconnect you from Africa. Everything they do is to disconnect you from Africa. This is why when Juali sealed papers, his seal was Ali, Northwest Africa. That's his government seal. The original organic and de jure Constitution or Constitutional United States Republic at North America and its established Republican form of government as set forth and established at Article 4, Section 4 of that Constitution was secretly and covertly overthrown and converted into a private, foreign-owned, and for-profit corporation in the year 1871. See the Organic Act of Congress, 1871. Now that misprision derived and foreign feudal law entity was styled as United States Corporation Company, which is also commonly referred to by its owners and operatives as the U.S. democracy. So now what you have here is the operations of the Cottonwigs and the Ku Klux Klan, which becomes the U.S. democracy. That is not set forth by treaty or constitution. It is feudal law operations. At what point does the Constitution for the United States establish a democratic form of government operating on our land and trade? It says the Republic. The Republic was overthrown because of its relationship to the Anansi Confederation, i.e. the Moors, the Lenape Moors. You want to talk this area? They call this area the first state. No, this is where they converted the Moorish estates first into the corporate states. So the Republic is some of these people asking these questions that don't recognize that they're the Republic that was overthrown. The concepts of keeping looking at the Republic outside of themselves is also part of this problem. That's your answer. You see how we keep looking out and it's in, Doc?
Yeah.
And it's redundant because they're looking at what do we have to do with these operations. You even see some people saying the Constitution has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with us. It is a compact to keep them operating in check on our land. It's not necessarily for our defense. It's set forth the obligations of their limited operations of government on our land, not to be confused with our secured rights that already exist before that instrument came about, which those principles come from our law. It didn't come from them. Is there another, or was that the just the limit of that particular question?
That particular question. I'm just
so keep that in mind. Also, that the United States corporation that was set up with the Democratic Party belongs to the members of the Roman Curia and belongs to actually the Vatican. So you're looking at a political platform that is essentially the Vatican. Actually, both of them are, truthfully. It's just that the U.S. democracy is what you call the first political born operations at North America in the modern era. Also, keep in mind the Circle Church and the Chancery that we've mentioned forever. Look at all those if you want to understand the operations of what you see going on right now. Was there anything else, Dr. Naya?
A lot of comments are just trying to go through.
And remember what we've been telling people we've been emphasizing it for the last 7 or 8 years, but we've been telling people over the years the same thing, but we've been emphasizing it for the last 7 at least, in relationship to, setting up your trust in your estate. And because what that has done, aside from what has been done with Manchurian families and others, is that it has made the treasury bonds that have been sold and have been continuously sold on the stock market, is made them dead meat. And that dead meat is sometimes referred to as the straw man, which you will never capture. And that's why we always remind people, if anybody starts talking about capturing birth certificates, marriage certificates, and the straw man, if they're not talking about allonges, ALLONGES, with all attachments to those instruments, and they think they're capturing these things and becoming secured party holder, executor, they're deluding themselves. But I also say this. I said it's also being thrown out there by these operatives, to give people some blind hope, thinking that they're going to be liberated, but it's actually for buying them time. It's not really the solving of your problems.
But there was one thing that like I said, I found recently, more recently than probably in the last couple of years, because instead of just talking about how many people I talk to, and there are actually quite a number of people that are doing things, Moors, melanated men and women,
different processes,
have found ways of doing things and actually it seems more like they found out what they're doing and how to get in and do what they're doing.
Yes.
Because there are all kinds of, you remember how you said that your brother lives in the upstate in New York, in a place where there are certain privileges given to Albion homeowners when they come in. There's a secret society of, and
it's normal in those
perks, but don't let them know that.
Exactly. Just like and this is again what I often say. The very fact that that takes place tells you already that the masses are not privy.
Right.
Deliberately. And look at this. Anything that's honorable, right, or valid for people at large, right, is transparent. If a body of politics is in place to represent the will and the good for the people, it's not transparent. If something is in place to help the people, you don't have to go through 50 hoops, jump through 50 hoops, make another 20 applications, go around the merry-go-round with hundreds of people issuing out all kinds of fiat energy. And then 5 years later, you can talk about someone who figured out something that got some privileges And then if you ask them, they're not going to tell you because they don't want to blow their game, which means what? That's dishonor. Not necessarily on their part, although that is a little bit, yes, too. I mean, that's kind of what you call sellout. You know, my position has always been, as an example, let me say this to you. When myself and Grand Sheik Nature Eel, when we sued representatives of the corporate area of Asbury Park and the nearby township, and they, in the local newspaper, they had about 17 to 28 more people whose pictures was in the paper local, whose heads rolled, right? And they argued in the federal courts to dismiss the case that we had against them on Rule 12b-6, which is diversity of nationality. And do you know how much flack he and I got over the years on that case with many so-called grand sheiks and grand governors in the Moorish Science Temple of America who never even examined that case because we did it for the people, not just for us, really. We had private meetings with both the bar members for the tow company that originated with taking this car with the Moorish tag on it, and also with some representatives from the township, and also the police commissioner in their office at Asbury Park, and told us blunt to our face, we know you're right, but we have to do our job. It is not unlike now like this. If we compromised, we could have got a lot of comfort and a lot of what you call perk payoff, but it's not what we did it for. We did it for the people. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And it's like this. I don't want it. If the people can't get it, I don't want it. I'm not in this for personal comfort or personal benefit that nobody else knows about. You know, you talk to me about liberations and rights for the people. I ain't putting it in the refrigerator. I'm taking the refrigerator door off. This is why a lot of them grand sheiks don't like Tajik guy. See, because it's like this. What's right for the people, what's birthright for the people is not yours, mine, or others to cherish, to hold, to benefit from, while the widows' pennies are stolen, while children are dying younger and younger in the street, while our personal relationships don't work because of the Christian black codes, and our people mad at each other don't even know they're under psychic attacks. Because the people who know it ain't talking and acting like the devil did it, or act like these people ain't prayed enough, and that's why they're having problems, not telling them that they're actually under attack. And it's known that they're under attack. And they've been under attack for generations. Now, our passivity that has been practiced while being under attack has actually created more divisions among ourselves, which you mentioned earlier. That's where its root is. Its root is not necessarily in the concept where these people are just being disagreeable or totally dishonest. They are the product of psychic attacks. And that's not defending their disagreements. Don't misunderstand where I'm coming from. But, you know, if you tell these people who think that they're spiritual and they know Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Muhammad, and they can't even protect themselves from psychic attacks, don't even recognize that they're happening to them. And they're mad at each other. And it's not unlike some of the things that we discussed earlier on multiple levels. Think people are being dishonorable. Those are results of psychic attacks. And what do? We embrace them and throw them around. It's called casting spells, and don't even know the puppeteer. But they say that they're spiritual. This is why a lot of times, you know, like over the years, a lot of times different things have occurred. People have said to me, why don't you do this, or why don't you do this? Why don't you respond to this person who's trying to hurt you, or this person who's trying to rob you? Why don't you do this? And I don't feed into it. I don't know about you. I couldn't be so patient. I already understand what I'm dealing with, because I'm dealing on a totally different level. I don't stoop to that. I don't deal, because I understand what's up. If I was in the minor mind, I'd be entertaining all that silly stuff. But that's a waste of energy, and it's non-productive, and you're fighting against yourself by falling for it. Don't fall for it. You know how, like, you hear me say, don't let people put their spirit on you?
Yeah.
And it's not just that they're doing it. You're also under psych attacks constantly. And consider this too. Past week, the week before last, yeah. I was on a conference call with Light, Tajiri, and others, right? Did you know that hybrid Europeans hacked the lines and came in and was hacking the lines and talking trash? No, I'm just telling you. I said, no, I didn't get mad. I said, now, the very fact that they're doing that, if we're wrong, just let's make fools of ourselves. Why are they so concerned? They're concerned because we're cutting them out. They're concerned because, you know how you say, don't complain about the leeches, get them off your arms. They're not freckles. And after a while, it's back to what we were saying earlier. The fact that our people are active, they have no idea that a lot of this economic so-called crash, stock market crash, it's not just that Russia, China, and other kingdoms and nation states are no longer buying U.S. Treasury bonds. It's because so many Moors are nationalizing, and they don't even know. Over the years, we'd seal people's papers and tell them to study and study. And you see them come back a little later. Some of the concepts evolve and they dawns on them. And some of them still asking questions. I'm mainly interested in? For them to put that energy out, because that's the tool. The very fact that they stuck a pin in the octopus's arms, to them is small. To those who know cycle placement, it's big deal. And it's big deal to them too. So the big prize that people are looking for, most of them don't know they did it as soon as they started becoming conscious and beginning to act on it. It's deeper and bigger than they think. Although the layers of their hierarchy that they've been operating on is indeed big. Yes, it is. However, a lot of them, some of the groups of the hierarchy have actually been removed from Midgard. And that's the truth. So while a lot of this stuff is coarse, a little rough, it has more to do with humanity being thrown off the plantation that they asked to be thrown off of than it has to do with the reality of where they're going with this. It's sort of like the people wanted to be freed in what they called freed in some areas, and they've been freed and they're standing at the gate.
Don't know where to go.
Why? Because all the spirituality they claimed was a figment of their imagination. They weren't really the spiritual people they claimed to be. And so that's why they don't know which way to go. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? However, and it's like we said before, sincerity is key to their solutions, because actually much of their cure is actually already in their DNA. So as they light up, or they call enlightenment, DNA is actually light forces, not some little wrinkly code that they be looking at. They're light forces. degrees of light forces. Crystalline light forces.